And now, how to beat the high cost of gas with President Trump.
Well, it's your favorite president here to help the country that we love to be the very best, and gas prices are up, but there are a lot of ways around it. I saw an old cartoon yesterday where the people had a car made out of wood and animal skins, and the man made it go with only his feet. What a terrific idea. It worked beautifully. I turned to Melania and I said, wow. I said, wow, that is probably the most genius thing that we've ever seen. And she said, well, I don't know, Donald. He also has a telephone made out of a bird. I still think it's genius. You don't need gas. You don't need electricity. All you need is to get yourself a foot-powered car. Just use your feet and you'll get to your job at the rock quarry very quickly.
This has been How to Beat the High Cost of Gas with President Trump.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that's just a brilliant, brilliant idea. Welcome to Mark Moseley Show on social media at Mark Moseley, Moseley. And welcome. And listen, I want to say right off the top, thank you for making time, making room for me in your podcast listening every week. Those of you who listen to this show or watch the show on YouTube every week, because it's such a crowded field. And now podcasting is all the rage for celebrities. So that's who, all of us little people are competing with. We're now competing with all these big celebrities, and some of them are doing very well. Right off the top of my head, Conan O'Brien comes to mind. Very popular, and he's been in that podcast format now for a few years. And here's the thing about celebrities doing podcasts is, for them, it's probably, I would imagine, such a great format because they're always so constrained by not being able to really be cut loose, be themselves, be relaxed, be human, and be seen as being human. Because in the podcast format, you get to take your time and you get to tell stories. And that's what really every artist is at heart. They're a storyteller. And, media appearances, even late night television, is very tightly, timed and constricted and scripted. And never mind like a traditional news show, like a news program. But on a podcast, you've got time to tell all the stories and then the stories within the stories. And it's very entertaining. And frankly, for many celebrities, because I do watch a lot of that stuff. And frankly, it is very humanizing because you get to see another side of some of these big celebrities, whether they be political or whether they be actors or whatever field that they're in, even business people, to let their hair down and do that kind of stuff. And yes, it quite frankly is probably one of the most pure and entertaining formats that's out there right now in entertainment, which is why, Joe Rogan is so popular, because he'll have somebody on there for 3 hours and they're just talking about stuff, and it's absolutely riveting. So I'm competing with that. So I want to thank everybody that chooses to take the time to watch or listen to this show. I greatly appreciate it because I am competing with everybody. I am competing with Sir Patrick Stewart's podcast about, needlepoint. Make it so. Make it so, number one. Make it so. Let's talk about the Iranian drone attack on California that's just imminent. Mrs. Moseley sent me out for supplies last night because she was so worried about it because social media lit up over this Iranian drone strike story. They got her, and you know what? I understand it because it's the goal of this type of news to get people worked up and worried. The Iranian drone strike attack is an actual FBI warning about a possible Iranian drone strike on California. Now, it's a low credibility threat, and it hasn't happened, obviously, as of the taping of this program. What is that buzzing sound I'm hearing? Never. That's a bad joke. But there was an FBI memo warning California law enforcement that Iran aspired to, and by the way, their aspiration predated this conflict. So don't let anybody tell you that California is going to get drone strike because of what Trump did and Israel did. No, they had planned this before. They would like to be able to launch drones from a ship off the U.S. coast, targeting unspecified sites in California if the U.S. did attack Iran. So the intel is old, according to the FBI, labeled allegedly aspired and was shared as merely a cautionary note. No specific targets, timelines, or evidence of active planning. U.S. government assessment explicitly downplayed. California Governor Gavin Newsom and law enforcement say there is no imminent threat. It's aspirational only, and there's no credible evidence that Iran is planning or capable of executing such an attack. And of course, the war now has degraded Iran's drone and missile forces. The technical reality is that their drones have a range of about 1,200 to 2,000 miles, and California is 7,000 miles away from Iran. Now, a ship launch near the U.S. coast would have to evade massive U.S. naval and air surveillance, including Hawaii and other Pacific bases. And experts call this extremely unlikely. And now the bottom line here is it's a near zero probability for California. But it's right up the alley of the mainstream media to play this up for eyeballs and clicks. I mean, it's just the kind of story that my old friend Rick Sanchez, I was thinking about Rick Sanchez today, and back in my Miami days, I did a popular impression on the radio there of the number one news anchor in Miami, Rick Sanchez from Channel 7 News. Rick Sanchez, because Channel 7 News was very much a pioneer in the if it bleeds, it leads style of news. So yes, Iranian death drones are going to crash into Disneyland and kill Mickey Mouse is right up the alley of that kind of news reporting. By the way, Rick Sanchez is now working for, of all things, and I went and looked this up, he works for Russia Today now, which is the Russian news outlet aimed at the United States, which is kind of fascinating. He joined Russia Today in 2019 and continued after moving to Russia in 2025 for greater editorial freedom, as he has described it in interviews. And Russia Today remains his primary platform. He was previously let go from RT America due to Biden-era restrictions on Russian media outlets, but he now has resumed with RT International now that he's relocated to Russia. He occasionally contributes elsewhere, but RT is his main current network tie. But yeah, Miami's Channel 7 was a leader in all the way back in the 80s of the type of scare media that just pollutes everything today. So now you know who to blame for clickbait. It's those people. They would do teasers going into commercial breaks. They would do teasers like, coming up, the 7 common things lurking in every household that could kill you and your children right now. Stick around. I'm Rick Sanchez. We'll be right back. Well, hold on now, because now I've got some breaking news coming in on this Iran drone thing. This is just breaking from our friends over at the news outlet, the Babylon Bee. Iran cancels plans to attack California. This is just breaking. Iran cancels plans to attack California after seeing Gavin Newsom already destroyed it. Rumors of the Ayatollah's regime's nefarious plot to launch an assault on the west coast of the United States hit a snag on Wednesday as Iran canceled plans to attack California after seeing Gavin Newsom had already destroyed it. The Iranian government had issued threats that it was prepared to take revenge on the U.S. by launching attacks against California, but leaders were said to have reconsidered their plan after intelligence reports showed that the state had been completely decimated under Newsom's leadership. Quote, "You can't destroy something that's already destroyed," said a spokesman for the supreme leader. "We were deep into strategizing a way to inflict massive destruction on California in the nation of the great Satan, but our secret operatives there said there's nothing left to do that hasn't been done already. Rampant crime, crumbling infrastructure, raging wildfires, and how you say, poop all over the streets. We're not sure we could do anything that would make it worse." Sources revealed that the Iranians had reached out to Governor Newsom's office to offer congratulations on the job he did wiping out California. What he has accomplished is impressive, one insider said. He's done more to cripple America and strike fear in the hearts of Americans than we could ever hope to do. Well done, Governor Newsom. We admire you greatly, sir. At press time, the Iranian government had reportedly asked Newsom if he was interested in becoming the next supreme leader when the position inevitably becomes available. And that should be, just any day now. Thanks for that update from the Babylon Bee here on Mark Moseley Show. Speaking of media bias, Fox News got caught showing old footage of Trump not wearing the white hat that he was wearing at the dignified transfer, which wasn't as dignified as it should have been, and which everyone thought was in bad taste. And here's where I get to not be a partisan hack, because, yes, I agree. Bad look for Trump. Orange man in a white hat, bad. You know, with the orange face and a white hat, he kind of looked like a human orange creamsicle float standing there. We have bad taste, but we taste so good. We are fantastic. Times have changed on this, and it used to be that there were times and places when a man would take their hat off or didn't wear a hat. Men used to take their hats off at the singing of the national anthem, for example, and a lot of men still do, but, you know, men didn't wear baseball caps at church, but now, and it's kind of sad, but you have a president who did not take his hat off at a very serious and solemn moment, a bad look for the president. And yes, most likely it was for vanity, you know, that he didn't take it off. He might have been having a bad hair day, or, you know, maybe it was too windy, you know, maybe he was trying to avoid a convertible top moment, you know, because we've seen those in the past. As on super windy days, the president has experienced that convertible top moment, you know, where the comb over just flips up into the air and starts flapping around. But Fox News got called out for it, and they had to apologize over there at Fox News. Now, in other media bias over at CNN, CNN had to walk back this moment.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson says nothing really to condemn those comments. Another special guest is going to be with us at the table when we come.
CNN's Abby Phillip, is it Phillip or Phillips? Was under fire and going viral as people demanded her to retract her statements or resign. Well, that's never going to happen. After she's just, you know, towing the company line there. They're not going to fire her. After blatantly misrepresenting the facts on air, she falsely described the recent NYC IED MOUSE incident as an attempted terror attack against Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Reality check, the two suspects were self-admitted ISIS-inspired Islamic terrorists who hurled homemade bombs at anti-Islam Christian protesters gathered outside of Mamdani's Gracie mansion during an anti-Muslim demonstration. But you see what they did there on CNN. They tried to pin the whole thing on Republicans, which I guess, to be fair, that is what happened. It was inspired by an anti-Muslim protest, but it had nothing to do with Mamdani. It wasn't an attack. The mayor was not the target. He wasn't even at home at the time, and those radicals pledged allegiance to ISIS and aimed to carry out mass carnage against Christians and opponents of radical Islam. Yet CNN, right on schedule, twisted the narrative to deflect, I think, from the real motive and pivot to a handy-dandy excuse to attack Republicans instead, which, I mean, look, that part of it, I get. But it had nothing to do, it was not an assassination plot against Mamdani, inspired by Republicans. So that's just peak mainstream media deception. More media bias. We got tons of media bias this week. And again, CNN, watch this one.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steaks, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all for himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No.
Do
you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he can't eat
for the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster.
Frequently.
Brothers Defect has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster?
All right, damn near decent.
How's yours?
I'm ready for war.
We're going to war.
In
Oh,
theater,
my God.
troops who are going to war.
Oh,
get
my God.
Great meal. You know
Okay.
that.
They're
You
getting
know
lobster.
that.
You are so
You're gonna
full
get
of it.
killed over this.
You are
You're
so
gonna get killed
full of
over
it.
this. Internet,
No.
do something.
Yes, Lobster Fest is back every September at the Pentagon. Lobster. You know, there's different kinds of media bias, just like there's, just like in the Bible, it talks about sins of commission and sins of omission. You know, commission is when you set out to do something that you know is wrong. And a sin of omission is when you fail to do good when presented the opportunity. And media can do both. They commit bias of commission and omission. And this is probably more the latter because it's the media crafting a narrative by leaving out all the details that would make the narrative come apart, you know, like single ply Dollar Tree toilet paper. I got into it with a buddy of mine on Facebook. He said, he posted this up and he said, here's what Hegseth has been spending money on. Are you embarrassed? Or are you going to show me how Obama's Secretary of Defense spent money on lobster? Here's what he posted. The Pentagon went on a staggering spending spree under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, blowing through $93 billion in September alone at the end of the 2025 fiscal year, and much of it had nothing to do with national security. According to the watchdog group Open the Books, the Defense Department spent $98,000 on a Steinway grand piano, $5.3 million on Apple devices, $225 million on furniture, and even $12,000 on fruit basket stands and $60,000 on Herman Miller recliners. The Pentagon also spent lavishly on luxury food, $6.9 million on lobster tail, $2 million on Alaskan king crab, $15.1 million on ribeye steaks, plus $124,000 on ice cream machines and $139,000 on donuts. Meanwhile, millions of Americans lost SNAP benefits during the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, with Republicans pushing new restrictions on food assistance. Now, all of this so far is absolutely 100% true. But it lacks context. It lacks context. You see, this is nothing new. This has been going on across every department of government for about the last 100 years. And this is a post by Midas Touch. Now, some of you who are politically attuned, if you're a fanatic of politics, like I always say, politics is my sports. So I am aware of hack, low-hanging fruit social media accounts like Midas Touch. Pro tip, don't share posts from Midas Touch. They're one of the single worst liberal hacks on social media. They're always easy to debunk. And you know what? You could do 5 minutes of research on the internet and find out the context under which this happened. This is not a DOD thing. This is not a Hegseth thing. This is not a Trump thing. This is every government agency that does this every September, and it's been going on for decades. It's the term use it or lose it actually first appeared in President Eisenhower's 1961 budget message. And before that, when my dad was in the Navy in the 1950s, he told me stories, actually recently when he was still with us, my dad told me stories about how in the Navy, they'd be on the ship and they would dump big crates of uneaten steaks, frozen steaks over the side of the ship, because if they didn't eat all the food, they would get less food allocated the next year. That's how our government is set up to work. This is a feature, not a bug. It is a bug that needs to be fixed, but I'm telling you, it's a feature. This is not a Trump thing. This is not a Hegseth thing. I happen to like the fact that right now, trying to make its way through Congress is something called the Incentivized Savings Act. It was proposed by a Republican representative September of last year, After this happened again, like it does every year, some guy goes, you know what? We should try to fix this. We really should. It would let all government departments do carryovers and not be penalized for not spending their budgets every year. It would give them a bonus structure. It would reward them with bonuses for not spending all of their money and carrying it over, because you have incentivized government waste. It's baked into the cake, pardon the pun. And again, this is every government agency does this. But the Incentivized Savings Act would allow government departments to do carryovers and reward them. It's interesting, though, as it worked its way through the committee, all the Democrats voted against the bill. Yes, my dad also told me that he said that he remembered one Thanksgiving, they were throwing hams and turkeys overboard, just throwing them into the sea. And he asked, one of his officers that was overseeing him, he said, can I have one of those turkeys? I'm going to bring it home because I have a neighbor that's very poor and they never have a turkey at Thanksgiving. And we actually brought one of the turkeys home that was going to be thrown overboard and gave it to a neighbor when he was on leave for Thanksgiving holiday. Again, back in the 1950s, this was going on. So this is not a new thing. But yes, the military should not have wasted all that money. They could have instead used it to, fund more Somali daycare centers. I mean, imagine how many more franchises of quality Leering Center you could have opened with that kind of cash.
And now, how to beat the high cost of gas with President Trump.
Well, it's your favorite president here again to help the country that we love. We love the United States, but gas prices are up, and there are a lot of ways to work around it. For example, we know, because we're very smart, probably the smartest, that automobiles use the most gasoline when you accelerate from a stop. The answer is so simple, so simple. I can't believe no one's ever thought of it. It took your president to think of it. When you drive, ignore all stop signs and just keep going. Remember, keep your foot on the right and blow through the light. And when the police pull you over, tell them that your favorite president said it was okay. Carpooling is another way to save gas money. Hitchhikers have known this for years. So remember to pick up strangers looking for a ride on the side of a darkened highway late at night. It's economical, it's environmental, and it's very, very humanitarian. But remember to tell the kids that it's not polite to point and stare at the hook he has for a hand.
This has been How to Beat the High Cost of Gas with President Trump.
Welcome back to Mark Moseley Show. Thank you, Mr. President. Another brilliant idea. I think if we implement these ideas, you've really got something there, sir. So let's talk about the Iran conflict and all the chatter about it. Someone wrote this on socials. MAGA supporters, serious question. If everything happening right now was exactly the same, but Kamala Harris, was president instead of Donald Trump, if it was Kamala Harris, instead of Donald Trump, how would you be reacting? Be honest with yourself for a minute. Well, one person responded that they, meaning Republicans or Trump supporters, are not capable of this level of thought. And it's a hypothetical. No way Harris would have put us in the position we are in. She doesn't have to distract us from the Epstein files. Again, the Epstein files, which have been around for a long time, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but we did get Trump's tax returns. So I will never allow the premise that the left couldn't have released some Epstein files. Oops. If they'd really, really wanted to. They knew they couldn't, though, because the Epstein files, once you open that Pandora's box, you expose a lot of people on the left. And we gave you the list of all the global pedophile elites that have resigned from their positions of power in the last couple of months. But the premise is that her premise, as stated, is that everything is exactly the way it was except Kamala Harris is president. So her premise is that Kamala bombed Iran, and what would I be saying right now? Well, in all honesty, I would be saying Kamala Harris is going to start World War III. And I think that's a reasonable fear for all of us, wherever you are politically. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings with wives and children and grandchildren and people that we love and care about. And no matter who the president is, and then you layer in your political bias that we all walk around with, don't deny it, we all have it, and that's what you'd be saying. I would be saying, oh, Kamala Harris is going to get us into World War III. She's an awful person. So, I mean, that's an easy one. The problem is Kamala would have likely, am I saying it wrong? Is it Kamala? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Kamala, take your pick, would have likely responded the same way to the same intelligence that Trump is operating off of. And in your scenario, she clearly did, because you're saying exactly everything is exactly the same. Oh, and then this person goes on to say, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Jesus does not support bombing people who may have nukes. Jesus doesn't bomb people. Don't blaspheme and try to justify this unholy war with the holy name of Jesus. I don't know who did that, but that's what she was referring to. But I said, you know what, let's just set aside the whole in Jesus' name thing, because I'm not aware of anybody saying, yes, we're doing this in the name of Jesus. It's kind of a red herring. Let's set that aside. Trump said we obliterated Iran's nuclear program back in June of 2025. And that's the problem that the left has with it. They're like, well, wait a minute. Why is Trump acting like Iran has nukes now when it's on the whitehouse.gov website that we obliterated their nuclear program back last year? Well, he would have done that for two reasons. Number one, that's what he believed based on the intel that day that was available. And number two, that's how Trump talks. I don't know if you've noticed, maybe you're new to Trump, but everything is a superlative, you know? And everybody knows this. Get used to it. Stop being the kid that gets surprised every time the Jack in the Box pops up in the Jack in the Box meme. You know, I mean, it's like, oh, Trump said we completely destroyed their nuclear program. Well, yeah, because that's the way he talks. Everything is the best. It's the best. It's the greatest. It's the most incredible. My teeth are the whitest. My hair is the most golden. I'm the most orange you've ever seen. Everything is the most or the worst. But here's my main point. Allow me to ask you a question. Are you the sort of pacifist that would be okay with Iran nuking and killing millions in Tel Aviv and New York City on the same day? Because that's almost certainly how it's going to go down. God forbid it ever happened. Because Iran knows that the second they drop a nuke on Tel Aviv, Tehran is a smoking crater within 10 minutes. They got one shot at this. And they're going to shoot their shot. They're going to have to fire all of their nukes on the same day. Use them or lose them. Just let that logic wash over you, and perhaps you'll begin to see this all through a different lens. It's hard because you've got the Trump, I hate Trump glasses on, and that's all you can see. But, I mean, and as far as the argument may have nukes, Iran has enriched to 60% U-235. You only need 19.75% maximum to generate nuclear power. The IAEA has repeatedly confirmed this. That plus the deep underground hardening of facilities, that's pretty solid evidence when you put those two things together. It's why experts all over the world treat Iran's program as a concern. Well, they replied, now ask yourself this. Are you the sort of warmonger that believes the U.S. can regime change any country it wants? Well, then you are for nuclear proliferation. This action by the U.S. and Israel has proven that the only way to avoid being controlled by the U.S. government through military force is to have a nuke. North Korea is a huge threat to the world. No regime change? Why? They have a nuke. Iran will forever seek nukes because we all violated all trust in the recent negotiations. Well, your argument might work in a vacuum where the entire world didn't agree that Iran was trying to build nukes, is still trying to build nukes, will always be trying to build nukes. So now they'll really try to get nukes? Yeah, we were just kind of screwing around in the lab before, but boy, are we hopping mad now. No. And yes, North Korea has nukes because the world farted around and let it happen. Lesson learned or no? As soon as Iran gets nukes, they're going to detonate one in Tel Aviv and another in Times Square and probably a third on the mall. Because they'll have to. They're not going to blow up Tel Aviv and then sit back and wait for Israel to negotiate. No, it's game over. It's Armageddon time, baby. You know, Trump said something the other day that went largely unnoticed. He said, we had people offering them free nuclear fuel. This is in the latest negotiations that you say we, pardon the pun, blew up. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff also described the U.S. offer as helping convert Iran's program to purely civilian, non-enrichment use with free fuel for a long period of time, or forever in Trump's phrasing, because of course he said forever. Again, that's how Trump talks.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do. There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me. Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me. Nobody's fighting for the veterans like I'm fighting for the veterans.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am.
Nobody does it better.
Here are the inescapable, widely accepted facts on this subject. Iran had enriched uranium to 60%, well above what is needed for peaceful purposes. Iran was hardening their nuclear facilities deep underground and inside of mountains to protect their purely peaceful program. You know? It's why you tint your windows when you're smoking weed in the car. Perfect analogy. Thank you. I think I'm done here. Good night, everybody.
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah!
3, Iran has called for the destruction of Israel repeatedly for the last 47 freaking years. Ayatollah Khomeini, founder of the Islamic Republic, repeated by successors, quote, Israel must disappear. Supreme leader, the newer Khomeini, in 2000 said Iran's position is that the cancerous tumor called Israel must be uprooted from the region. Again, in 2001, the perpetual subject of Iran is the elimination of Israel from the region. He has repeated similar language for decades, including, quote, Israel will be destroyed, 2010 tweet, and, quote, Israel is a cancerous tumor. This statement is not just a slogan. In 2010, he said the thing and then he goes, and I really mean this. This is not hyperbole. When people show you who they are, take them at their word. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, World Without Zionism Conference. Oh, they had a conference in 2005. Our dear Imam ordered that this Jerusalem-occupying regime must be erased from the page of time. IRGC and other officials routinely echo this. Threats to raze Tel Aviv and Haifa to the ground. The Zionist regime's death sentence, replace Israel in its entirety with a big Holocaust. The most direct link connecting the destruction of Israel with nuclear weapons was former President Rafsanjani. On December 14th, 2000, he said, if one day, a very important day, of course, the Islamic world will also be equipped with the weapons available to Israel now, the imperialist strategy will reach an impasse because the employment of even one atomic bomb inside Israel will wipe it off the face of the earth. But such a bomb would only do damage to the Islamic world. It is not unreasonable to consider this possibility. He said it. Again, the day of Tel Aviv's and Haifa's nuclear destruction is the same day that New York and Washington, D.C. will also be nuked. Do you doubt that? Do you not find that to be a compelling argument? Or is it just an uncomfortable conversation? Yes, I get it. This is a squirmy topic. It's one thing to think about something happening on the other side of the planet. But when we think about a couple of American cities with mushroom clouds over them and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people dead in an instant, it's an uncomfortable conversation. But look, you guys want to talk about this, so let's talk about it. Do you really think that Iran is going to nuke Tel Aviv and then just sit back and dare the world to response and think that we won't, like some giant ultimate game of chicken? And take the panty waists at the UN off the table. Take them out of the equation. Take the EU off the table. Heck, take the United States out of the equation. Say we did nothing. Does anyone watching or listening think Israel is just going to take it? Should you take some time to reflect on this and let this wash over you as a concept? It might give you some pause and change the way that you're looking at this. For better or for worse, the horse is out of the barn on this. It has been for a long, long time. Iran has tied their hatred of Israel to the United States for decades because we have always, this is not a Trump thing. We have always had Israel's back, and the world knows not to screw with Israel because the United States will kick your ass. Now, you can console yourself with what ifs, but this is where we are. Now, what do we do when Iran has called Israel the little Satan and U.S. the great Satan since 1979? Is this the moment in human history where maybe, just maybe, we are punting Armageddon down the road a little ways? I know some of you might not read the Bible or know what's in it, but there's probably one of the scariest passages in the whole book is when you see the armies of the world gathering around Jerusalem. Iran was weeks away still, even after the operation last year, weeks away from a nuke. Allow this argument for a second. They're not going to hold a nuke for the purposes of holding the world hostage to their demands. That's not their modus operandi. That's not how Iran rolls. They're about the destruction of Israel. The minute they get a bomb, 5 minutes later, Mossad will know about it. Now, they will hide it as long as they can because they'll want more than one bomb. They'll want to be able to strike at least Tel Aviv and Haifa and, yes, D.C. and New York and, I don't know, maybe Miami and Atlanta because those would likely become the replacement capitals, government capital, financial capital of the United States, if the worst were to happen, this nightmare scenario. But let's say they don't even attack the U.S. right away, which I don't believe is plausible. Let's just say they nuke Tel Aviv and Haifa. Israel responds by nuking Tehran and Tabriz. Russia quickly lines up with Iran and China. China invades Taiwan a week later. The EU and the UN condemn Israel only. The U.S. backs Israel, and then get ready for Luke chapter 21. When you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you will know that its desolation is near. It gets a little happier later on, but there's a lot of bad parts between there and the verse where he says, and that time they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Maybe we just kick that can down the road just a little bit.
And now, how to beat the high cost of gas with President Trump.
Well, it's your favorite president again, back to help America to save money on gas. And I was watching a Roadrunner cartoon. You know, there are a lot of great ideas in cartoons. I can't believe we're not implementing some of these things. We're going to look into it. It was a Roadrunner cartoon, and the coyote is trying to catch the Roadrunner, a very fast bird, probably the fastest bird that we've ever seen, and we've seen a lot of birds. Well, the coyote sent away for some special roller skates that had rockets attached to the back of them, and he was able to go very, very quickly. So order some of those to get from place to place. Acme makes them, but Barron told me you could probably get them from Temu. If you do buy them, be very careful because sometimes you go too fast and you go right off a cliff. And you don't want to do that. But if you do go off a cliff, be sure and put a trampoline at the bottom.
This has been How to Beat the High Cost of Gas with President Trump.
Welcome back to Mark Moseley Show. Time again for The Science is Settled. Is Al Gore around? Please don't make me read this. Yes, you must read it. I'm doing your voice, which I make Al Gore read news stories about how the science isn't settled. I don't want to do this. You have to. Ancient humans arrived in East Asia 600,000 years earlier than previously thought. A new fossil discovery in China shows Homo erectus. What's funny about that? Nothing. Homo erectus. You okay? Yeah, I'm good. A distant ancestor of modern humans originated in Africa and then dispersed into Eurasia. The precise time of their arrival in Eastern Asia has long been a matter of debate. The oldest Homo erectus fossil, keep it together, Al, found in this part of the world came from Yunjiang, China, dated to nearly 1.1 million years ago. However, a new fossil study confirms the species appeared in Yunjiang 1.7 million years ago, or about 600 years earlier than previous research indicated. Okay, so only off by 500,000 years. But yeah, we got 6 years left to save the planet, or all the icebergs will be gone 15 years ago. I hate you so much right now. Thank you. If you've ever been annoyed as an English speaker in America, here's the reverse of that. For any of the tens of millions of Americans who prefer to speak Spanish, when you call into the Washington State Department of Licensing and you have the option for pressing 2 for Spanish, you don't get Spanish. The Associated Press reports that instead you get an automated artificial intelligence that was programmed incorrectly. It just speaks English with a strong Spanish accent.
Yes. Maya Edwards, whose husband pressed 2 for Spanish, said it was hilarious to us in the moment because it was so absurd. But at the same time, it has a real accessibility issues for people who need to speak in a different language.
The Department of Licensing has apologized and said the glitch has been fixed as of February 27th, but it hasn't. It's still there. Calls to the service still resulted in the
heavily accented Spanish voice and using Spanish words only for numbers,
as in,
your estimated wait time is less than 3 minutes. Buena suerte.
The number, by the way, if you want to check it out, is 360-902-3900. Call during business hours, because after hours, you don't get to press 2 for Spanish. And let's wrap up the show now with our doofus of the week. You're a big, stupid doofus. No, you are. No, you. In Orangevale, California, Angela Nalani is accused of trying to kill her ex-husband. Her weapon of choice, not a gun, not a knife, no, not even by strangulation or drowning. No, a soda can full of wasps. A soda can full of wasps. See, her ex-hubby, her ex-hubby has allergies. I think I'm coming down with a little something myself. And his biggest allergy is to wasps. If he were to be repeatedly stung, he would die. Angela is accused of trying to hire a family member, well, that was your first mistake, to put the cano wasps in her ex-husband's car. The idea being, you see, that he would get in, start driving down the road, and all of a sudden he's getting stung, and maybe he loses control and drives over a cliff and dies. At any rate, the wasp would kill him. Well, her family member took the money, but then told cops about the plot that she had. Angela wanted to kill him because he stopped paying his alimony. So he wouldn't bow to the queen. Come on, Angela. When plotting your ex-husband's murder, you've got to be more careful. This was not a well-thought-out plan, honey. Maybe next time you should horn it a bit. Okay, one more and then I'm done. I wonder if the cops set up a sting.
I wish you could just shut your big yapper.
Don't forget to follow me on social media at Mark Moseley, and please like, follow, share, and comment, and give me a thumbs up, and hit the bell, and do all the things on YouTube. The show's also on Rumble. Until next time, may God bless you. May God bless you with health, joy, and wisdom.